Have you ever wondered what it's like to step onto an island at the edge of the world, where the forests are ancient, the seas are wild, and the birds are unlike anywhere else? That island is Tasmania. South of Australia, this rugged land is home to creatures found nowhere else. Its mountains rise in mist, its rivers carve deep valleys, and its windswept coasts crash against the Southern Ocean. Here in this raw and untamed landscape, birds have evolved in strange and remarkable ways. Some are dazzling jewels like the brilliant orange-bellied parrot, one of the rarest parrots on Earth. Others are powerful hunters like the mighty white-bellied sea eagle, soaring over stormy seas. And some are just plain bizarre. The wide-mouthed Tawny Frogmouth, with eyes like amber lamps, or the musk duck, whose odd calls ripple across hidden lakes. From the smallest penguin to the largest eagle, from parrots that race the wind to hens that never fly, Tasmania's birds tell a story of survival, beauty, and wonder. So join me as we discover 15 rare birds of Tasmania found nowhere else, an island's wild chorus waiting to be heard. On the wild southwest coast of Tasmania, winds sweep across button grass plains and icy rivers. The land feels empty, harsh, and unforgiving. Yet from this rugged wilderness comes a flash of emerald green and blazing orange, a jewel against the storm. The orange-bellied parrot. This tiny bird, barely 5 inches long, carries one of the most dramatic stories in the bird world. Its plumage is a rich green, but the belly glows with a brilliant orange patch, like a flame hidden in the grass. Males and females share this vibrant color, but in the wild, seeing even one is a moment to treasure. Here's a fun fact. The orange-bellied parrot is one of the world's rarest and most endangered birds. Each year, it breeds only in Tasmania's remote southwest, then crosses treacherous seas to winter on the southern coast of mainland Australia. Fewer than 200 survive in the wild, making every migration a gamble against extinction. Their survival has become a symbol of hope. Conservationists monitor nests, guard feeding sites, and even raise chicks in captivity to release back into the wild. For many Tasmanians, this little parrot embodies the fight to protect the island's wilderness. Culturally, it has captured imaginations far beyond its size. Birdwatchers from around the world travel to Tasmania for a chance to glimpse this fleeting jewel. To see one in flight, a streak of green, a flash of orange, is to witness something few humans ever will. Now let me ask you, have you ever realized that the rarest treasures are often the smallest, the most fragile, and the hardest to find? That's the orange-bellied parrot. So the next time you think of Tasmania's wild coasts, remember this tiny flame of a bird, burning bright against the odds, a symbol of resilience found nowhere else. Walk into the eucalyptus forests of Tasmania, and you may hear a strange guttural squawk, loud, rasping, almost like someone clearing their throat. Follow the sound and soon a large bird swoops into view, wings broad, tail fanned, throat quivering as it calls. Dangling from its neck are 2 long, yellow wattles, swaying like tassels with every movement, the yellow wattlebird. This bird is the largest member of the honeyeater family, nearly 17 inches long, with a powerful frame. Its plumage is streaked brown and cream, blending with tree bark, but its wattles make it unforgettable. These fleshy, lemon-yellow appendages hang like ornaments, giving the bird a dramatic, almost comical look. Here's a fun fact. Despite its odd appearance, the yellow wattlebird plays an essential role in Tasmania's forests. Feeding primarily on nectar, it darts from flower to flower, pollinating eucalyptus and native shrubs. It also consumes insects and fruit, helping to keep the ecosystem in balance. Its size and appetite mean it can dominate feeding trees, often chasing smaller birds away with loud, rattling calls. Their voice is one of Tasmania's strangest sounds. Described as a harsh cough or a croak, it can carry across long distances, startling to newcomers but deeply familiar to locals. For Tasmanians, the sound of the yellow wattlebird is a mark of home. Culturally, this bird is tied to the island's identity. As an endemic species, it exists nowhere else in the world, reminding us that Tasmania's forests are both unique and irreplaceable. To see one perched high in a flowering gum tree, wattle swinging as it calls, is to witness a living emblem of the island's wild character. Now let me ask you, have you ever encountered a creature so strange, so oddly decorated, that you couldn't help but stare? That's the yellow wattlebird. So the next time you imagine Tasmania's forests, picture this bird, big, loud, and unforgettable, carrying the island's voice in every call. In the shadowy rainforests of Tasmania, where moss carpets the ground and tree ferns spread their fronds like umbrellas, a tiny spark of color suddenly appears. Perched quietly on a low branch is a bird no bigger than your hand, its dark body glowing with a splash of bright rose pink across its chest. The pink robin. Males are striking, jet black head and back, with a vivid pink belly that looks almost painted on. Females, in contrast, are dressed in soft browns, subtle but elegant, blending with the forest floor. Together they embody contrast, one bold and eye-catching, the other understated and camouflaged. Here's a fun fact. Despite its beauty, the pink robin is a shy bird. It prefers dense, wet forests, often flitting close to the ground, where it hunts for insects among the shadows. Bird watchers often hear its soft, high-pitched calls before they spot the tiny flash of pink. In fact, many say finding one is like stumbling upon a hidden jewel in the undergrowth. The pink robin plays an important role in the forest. By feeding on insects, it helps control populations of pests, keeping the delicate balance of the ecosystem intact. Its presence is a sign of healthy rainforest, a natural indicator that the land is still thriving. Culturally, this bird has a special charm. For locals, the pink robin is a symbol of Tasmania's gentler side, a reminder that even in rugged wilderness, beauty can appear in the smallest, quietest form. For birders, it is a favorite to photograph, its glowing belly adding a splash of color to the deep greens and browns of the forest. Now let me ask you, have you ever been walking in a dark, quiet place when a single, unexpected color transformed the whole scene? That's the pink robin. So the next time you picture Tasmania's rainforests, imagine this little bird, delicate, shy, but dazzling, an unlikely treasure found in the shadows. The Tasmanian forest grows quiet. Then from far above, a long, wailing cry drifts through the air, haunting, almost mournful. Moments later, great dark shapes appear, gliding slowly across the treetops. Their wings beat heavily, tails flashing gold with every turn. The yellow-tailed black cockatoo. This bird is massive, stretching nearly 2 feet from head to tail, with broad wings designed for slow, powerful flight. Cloaked in soot-black feathers, it looks almost solemn, a shadow moving against the sky. But when it spreads its tail, bold yellow panels blaze like lanterns, catching the light and transforming the bird into something both somber and spectacular. Here's a fun fact. These cockatoos are expert woodcutters. Using their strong hooked beaks, they tear into dead trees and branches to reach wood-boring grubs. After they finish, the shredded wood falls like confetti to the forest floor, leaving behind evidence of their feast. Their foraging, though destructive in appearance, actually helps recycle nutrients and creates hollows for other animals. Yellow-tailed black cockatoos are deeply social. They move in family groups or loose flocks, their slow wing beats and melancholy cries carrying for miles. To hear their call is unforgettable. Some describe it as a cry of sorrow, others as the forest's voice itself. Culturally, they are seen as birds of mystery. In Aboriginal traditions, cockatoos often symbolize change and renewal. In Tasmania, their presence is a reminder of the island's wild strength, resilient, enduring, and powerful. But their survival is not guaranteed. Logging and habitat loss have reduced the large, old trees they need for nesting. Without hollow trunks, these giants of the air cannot raise the next generation. Conservationists now fight to preserve their habitats, knowing the forest would feel empty without their echoing cries. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a sound so haunting, so soulful, that it felt as though the land itself was speaking? That's the yellow-tailed black cockatoo. So the next time you imagine Tasmania's rugged forests, Picture these black shadows with golden tails, mournful voices carrying through the wild, guardians of the ancient trees. The Tasmanian sun rises over eucalyptus groves, and a sharp whistle cuts through the stillness. A blur of green and red streaks across the sky, wings slicing the air with incredible speed. In an instant, it's gone, vanished into the trees as though carried by the wind itself. The swift parrot. This small bird, only about 10 inches long, is among the fastest parrots in the world. Its plumage is vivid, a green back, scarlet face and throat, flashes of blue in the wings. When it flies, the colors blur into a streak of brilliance, a living arrow fired through the forest. Here's a fun fact. Every year, the swift parrot performs one of the most remarkable migrations in the parrot world. It breeds exclusively in Tasmania, nesting in old-growth eucalyptus, then crosses the Bass Strait to winter on mainland Australia. That's a perilous journey of hundreds of miles through unpredictable winds and open sea. An enormous challenge for such a small bird. But the real danger lies closer to home. Swift parrots are critically endangered, with fewer than 1,500 adults left. Habitat loss from logging has reduced their breeding grounds, and an invasive predator, the sugar glider, raids their nests, preying on eggs and chicks. Without swift action, this dazzling traveler could vanish. Culturally, the swift parrot has become a conservation icon. In Tasmania, its plight symbolizes the fragility of old forests and the urgent need to protect what remains. For birders, spotting one is a dream, often just a flash of color and a high-pitched call before it disappears again. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen something so fast, so fleeting, that it felt more like a spark than a bird? That's the swift parrot. So the next time you think of Tasmania, imagine this tiny parrot, brilliant, endangered, racing the wind itself, fighting for survival with every wing beat. The morning is still. A breeze rustles through the grasslands of Tasmania, and suddenly, rustle, rush, dash. A small gray bird darts across the field, legs pumping like pistons, moving faster than you'd ever expect. No wings in the air, just pure speed on the ground. The Tasmanian native hen. This plump, chicken-sized bird is a true Tasmanian original. Stocky body, olive brown feathers, a short tail flicking nervously, and long, powerful legs built for sprinting. Unlike most birds, it doesn't take to the skies. It's completely flightless. But on land, it's lightning quick. Native hens can run up to 30 miles per hour, leaving predators far behind. Here's a fun fact. Locals sometimes call it the turbo chook, and that nickname fits. These birds dash in zigzags, skimming across the ground, often racing each other near rivers and farm fields. To see a flock of them sprinting together is both comical and impressive, like watching little feathered athletes at full speed. Despite its inability to fly, the native hen thrives. It forages in groups, grazing on grasses, seeds, and small insects. Social and noisy, they constantly chatter with a variety of clucks and squeaks. Their family groups are tight-knit, with parents, siblings, and even helpers all pitching in to raise chicks. Culturally, this bird is a beloved symbol of Tasmania. While extinct on mainland Australia, it has flourished on the island, safe from many predators. Its success is often seen as a testament to Tasmania's unique ecosystems, where even a flightless bird can thrive. But it's not without challenges. Expanding farmland and habitat changes put pressure on populations, though for now the turbo chook remains widespread and lively, a rare conservation success story. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen an animal that couldn't fly, but still managed to outpace almost anything chasing it? That's the Tasmanian native hen. So the next time you picture Tasmania's grasslands, imagine a plump little bird rocketing across the field, fast, determined, and entirely at home on this island it calls its own. On the rocky shores of Tasmania, the waves crash endlessly, foaming against the dark stones. Then, as twilight falls, a small procession begins. Out of the surf, tiny figures waddle ashore, shaking salt water from their feathers. Barely a foot tall, dressed in midnight blue coats and white bellies, they march together like a miniature army, the little penguin. Known as the world's smallest penguin, this charming bird stands just 12 inches tall. Its plumage is not black like most penguins, but a soft slate blue that shines in the moonlight, giving rise to its nickname, the fairy penguin. Here's a fun fact. Little penguins spend their days out at sea, diving up to 200 times in a single day to catch fish and squid. They use their stubby wings like flippers, flying underwater with surprising grace. But at night they return to shore, forming colonies where they nest in burrows, rocky crevices, or even under boardwalks built by humans. In Tasmania, watching the evening penguin parade is a beloved tradition. Families gather quietly near the beaches, waiting as the tiny birds shuffle home in groups, each one heading to its burrow. For many visitors, it's an unforgettable moment, a glimpse of wildlife at its most endearing. Despite their cuteness, little penguins are tough survivors. They face threats from habitat disturbance, introduced predators like foxes and cats, and pollution at sea. Conservation programs now protect their nesting sites, ensuring that these nightly parades continue for generations to come. Culturally, the little penguin holds a special place in Tasmanian hearts. It represents resilience in a small package, proof that size doesn't define strength. For birders and casual visitors alike, it's often the highlight of a trip, an encounter that blends wonder with pure joy. Now let me ask you, have you ever seen something so small, so unassuming, yet so full of life that it instantly made you smile? That's the little penguin. So the next time you imagine Tasmania's coastlines, picture these tiny blue penguins marching bravely out of the waves. Fragile yet determined, a living treasure of the island's shores. The forest at night is still. The moonlight filters through the trees, casting long shadows across the ground. Suddenly you sense a presence, a shape sitting motionless on a branch. At first it looks like nothing more than a broken stump, rough and gray. But then, two glowing yellow eyes open, unblinking, staring straight back at you. The Tawny Frogmouth. This bird is a master of disguise. With feathers patterned like bark, it can perch silently on a branch, stretch its neck, and transform into what looks like a piece of dead wood. Predators pass by, fooled completely, while prey never knows it's being watched. Despite its owl-like appearance, the Tawny Frogmouth is not an owl. It's a member of its own family, with a huge wide mouth shaped like a frog's. That gape isn't for eating insects whole. It's also used to snap up moths and beetles in mid-flight. At night, it hunts with precision, swallowing prey in silence before returning to its statue-like pose. Here's a fun fact. When threatened, Tawny frogmouths don't fly away. Instead, they freeze, point their heads upward, and become part of the tree. This behavior, called stumping, is so effective that even seasoned bird watchers sometimes walk right past them without noticing. Their call is equally strange, a low vibrating that echoes through the forest, both eerie and enchanting. For locals, it's a familiar nighttime sound, often mistaken for the hoot of an owl. Culturally, the frogmouth has a reputation as a symbol of mystery and patience. In folklore, it's sometimes called a guardian of the night, a silent watcher of the forest. In Tasmania, spotting one is always a thrill, because it feels like uncovering a secret hidden in plain sight. Now let me ask you, have you ever realized that the most extraordinary things can be hiding right in front of you, invisible until they choose to reveal themselves? That's the Tawny frogmouth. So the next time you walk through Tasmania's forests at night, glance twice at those broken branches. You might just find a pair of golden eyes staring back. The waves of Tasmania crash endlessly against rocky cliffs. Gulls wheel and scream overhead, but then, from high above, a larger shadow appears. Broad wings stretch wide, white flashing against deep blue sky, as a powerful hunter glides effortlessly on the wind. The white-bellied sea eagle. This majestic bird is one of the largest raptors in Australasia, with a wingspan stretching over 7 feet. Its plumage is bold, pure white head, breast, and belly, contrasted by dark gray wings. In flight, it looks regal, commanding the coastline as if it owns the sea itself. Here's a fun fact. Sea eagles are expert fishers. They soar over bays and rivers, scanning the surface with piercing eyes. At just the right moment, they dive, talons outstretched, snatching fish in a single strike. Sometimes they'll even harass other birds, forcing them to drop their catch midair, then swoop to steal it. Efficient, opportunistic, and fearless. In Tasmania, these eagles are more than just predators. They're guardians of the coast. Their enormous nests, built high in tall trees or on remote cliffs, can measure up to 6 feet across and weigh hundreds of pounds. Some nests are used for generations, added to year after year, until they become monuments of sticks and branches. Culturally, the white-bellied sea eagle has long inspired respect. In Aboriginal traditions, it is seen as a spiritual messenger, a connection between the sea and the sky. For modern Tasmanians, its presence over estuaries and rivers is a symbol of wildness still intact. But like many top predators, it faces challenges. Habitat disturbance and poisoning once reduced populations, though conservation efforts have helped them recover. Today, they remain a rare but powerful sight, a reminder of Tasmania's untamed coast. Now let me ask you, have you ever looked up and seen a bird so commanding, so free, that it made the horizon feel alive? That's the white-bellied sea eagle. So the next time you stand by Tasmania's shores, imagine this great bird circling overhead, white wings against the sky, a sovereign of the ocean winds. On the still waters of a Tasmanian lagoon, silence hangs heavy. Then without warning, a strange sound breaks the calm. Thwack, thwack, splat. It echoes like someone slapping water with cupped hands. Look closer and you see a stocky, dark duck paddling slowly, its head low, and from its chin dangles a large, leathery lobe. The musk duck. Named for the musky odor released by males during breeding season, this bird is one of the strangest waterfowl in the world. Heavy-bodied with a stiff tail, it doesn't look graceful. But when it performs its courtship display, it becomes unforgettable. The male arches its back, slaps its tail loudly against the water, and lets out a booming whistle that carries across the lake. The dangling lobe beneath its bill, huge and bulbous, wobbles as it calls, adding to its bizarre appearance. Here's a fun fact. The musk duck is an expert diver. It can stay underwater for over a minute, using its large webbed feet to propel itself as it hunts for aquatic insects, crustaceans, and small fish. Unlike most ducks, it rarely flies, preferring to dive deep and disappear into the water. Socially, musk ducks are solitary and secretive. You won't find them in big flocks. Instead, they keep to themselves, hidden in reed beds, emerging only to feed or display. Their strange calls and displays often leave first-time observers puzzled, even amused. Culturally, this bird has always drawn curiosity. Some naturalists once thought the musk duck too odd to be a real duck at all. Today, it stands as a reminder that evolution doesn't always favor elegance. Sometimes survival means being strange. Now let me ask you, have you ever heard a sound so odd, so out of place, that it made you laugh and wonder at the same time? That's the musk duck. So the next time you pass by a quiet Tasmanian lake, listen closely. That slap on the water and booming call may not be a trick of the wind. It may be this peculiar bird, performing its ancient ritual in the moonlit shallows. In the windswept heathlands of Tasmania, you may catch a glimpse of movement among the shrubs. At first, it looks like a puff of grass swaying in the breeze, but then a tiny bird hops into view, barely 4 inches long, with a tail that looks more like a bundle of loose threads than feathers. The southern Emu-wren. This delicate little bird takes its name from its strange tail. Instead of stiff, tidy plumes, the feathers are long, wispy, and ragged, like the strands of an emu's feathers, but on a creature small enough to perch on your fingertip. When the bird flicks its tail, it looks like a handful of fine threads caught in the wind. Males are especially striking, with bright blue patches on the throat and face, glowing like fragments of sky. Females wear more subdued browns, blending into the heath. Both are masters of staying hidden. They dart low through dense vegetation, rarely flying into the open, making them one of the most elusive birds to spot. Here's a fun fact. Despite its size, the southern Emu-wren has a surprisingly loud and complex song. Its high-pitched trills ripple across the heath, often revealing its presence long before you see its tiny form. For birdwatchers, finding one is a challenge, requiring patience, sharp ears, and a bit of luck. Their secretive lives are tightly bound to their habitat. These birds thrive in low, shrubby heathlands, feeding on tiny insects. But this dependency makes them vulnerable. Fires, land clearing, and habitat loss can quickly wipe out local populations. Conservation of Tasmania's heathlands is essential for their survival. Culturally, the emu-wren has become a favorite among birders who travel to Tasmania. Not because it's flashy or powerful, but because it represents fragility and wonder. To hold a pair of binoculars steady and finally see that thread-like tail twitching among the bushes is a moment of pure joy. Now let me ask you, have you ever found something so small, so delicate, that it felt like discovering a secret treasure? That's the southern emu-wren. So the next time you walk through Tasmania's heathlands, pause, listen, and look close. You just might spot this tiny wisp of life, threading its way through the wild. The beaches of Tasmania stretch wide and empty, pale sand meeting restless surf. Out at sea, gulls wheel noisily, but look closer and you'll notice something different. Small, graceful birds darting low over the waves, wings flickering like silver blades. The little tern. Barely 9 inches long, this is one of the tiniest seabirds in the world. Its body is delicate, pure white beneath with a soft gray back, and a sharp black cap crowning its head. The bill, tipped in yellow, seems almost oversized for such a dainty creature. Yet for all its fragile looks, the little tern is an agile, determined hunter. Here's a fun fact. Little terns feed by hovering high above shallow water, then plunging headfirst to snatch tiny fish near the surface. Their dives are quick and precise, like arrows falling from the sky. Despite their size, they can travel great distances along the coast in search of food. Breeding season is when they become most remarkable. On Tasmania's sandy beaches, they scrape shallow nests directly into the ground, laying eggs that are mottled and perfectly camouflaged against the sand. Both parents guard the nest fiercely, dive-bombing intruders that wander too close, humans included. For such small birds, their courage is enormous. But life is precarious. Because they nest directly on open beaches, little terns are vulnerable to rising tides, off-leash dogs, and careless footsteps. Conservationists now mark off nesting areas with signs and fences, giving these fragile colonies a chance to survive. Culturally, the little tern has earned admiration as a symbol of persistence. To see them skimming waves, darting and diving with endless energy, is to be reminded that even the smallest creatures can endure against great odds. Now let me ask you, have you ever stood on a beach and marveled at something so small, so fragile, yet so full of determination? That's the little tern. So the next time you walk along Tasmania's coast, watch the surf carefully. That flicker of wings above the waves might be one of the island's tiniest, bravest seabirds. Not every bird dazzles with bright feathers or strange ornaments. Some capture the heart with quiet presence, subtle colors, soft movements, and a life bound deeply to one place. In the forests and farmlands of Tasmania, one such bird flits low among the branches. The dusky robin. At first glance, it might not turn heads. About 6 inches long, dressed in muted browns and grays, it blends almost seamlessly with the bark and leaves. No glowing pink chest like the pink robin. No bold wattles like the yellow wattlebird. Just simplicity. But watch closely, and you'll see the quiet charm of a bird that belongs entirely to Tasmania. Here's a fun fact. The dusky robin is found nowhere else in the world. An island endemic, a true Tasmanian native. It prefers open woodland and pasture edges, often perching low while it scans the ground for insects. Its hunting style is patient. A quick drop to the earth, a snap of the bill, then back to its perch. Its song is modest too. Short, sweet whistles repeated gently, adding a delicate soundtrack to the Tasmanian landscape. For many locals, this song is part of home life, easy to overlook, yet strangely comforting. Culturally, the dusky robin represents endurance. It has survived centuries of habitat change, adapting to both wild forests and human-altered landscapes. Farmers often see them perched on fence posts or hopping across paddocks, a quiet companion in daily life. What makes the dusky robin special isn't glamour, it's belonging. This bird doesn't travel across oceans or show off with brilliant plumage. Instead, it tells the story of Tasmania itself, steady, modest, and unique. Now let me ask you, have you ever realized that beauty doesn't always shout, it sometimes whispers? That's the dusky robin. So the next time you walk through Tasmania's woodlands, pause and look low. You might just notice this little bird, unassuming yet irreplaceable, carrying the quiet spirit of the island in its wings. Along Tasmania's rugged shoreline, the wind never rests. Waves smash against rocks, and the air is thick with salt and the cries of seabirds. Among them, one call cuts sharper than the rest, a harsh, raucous laugh, bold and unrelenting. A large gull wheels overhead, its wings tipped in black, eyes fierce and watchful. The kelp gull. This is no ordinary seagull. At nearly 2 feet long, with a powerful yellow bill and bright red spot near the tip, the kelp gull is both elegant and intimidating. Its plumage is stark, clean white head and body, set against glossy black wings. On the wing, it commands attention, soaring with purpose over beaches and harbors. Here's a fun fact. Kelp gulls are notorious scavengers. They'll eat almost anything. Fish, shellfish, carrion, even scraps left behind by humans. They're clever too, dropping shellfish from great heights to crack them open on the rocks below. Some have even learned to steal food directly from other seabirds, harassing them until they give up their catch. But don't mistake them for mere opportunists. These gulls are also fierce hunters, diving for fish and expertly navigating surf zones where few others dare. They nest in noisy colonies on offshore islands, where their piercing calls and aggressive behavior keep predators at bay. In Tasmania, the kelp gull is both admired and resented. Fishermen see them as bold thieves, while beachgoers are often amused or alarmed by their antics. Yet ecologists recognize their role as cleaners of the coastline, recycling waste and carrion back into the ecosystem. Culturally, they embody resilience. Always present where sea meets land, they remind us that survival often favors the bold and adaptable. Their cries are the soundtrack of Tasmania's coasts, wild, unruly, and unforgettable. Now let me ask you, have you ever met a bird so pushy, so determined, that it refused to be ignored? That's the kelp gull. So the next time you stand on a Tasmanian beach, watch the waves and listen for that harsh call, you'll know the coast belongs, at least in part, to these loud, unyielding guardians of the shore. The skies above Tasmania hold a ruler. Broad wings cast shadows over mountain ridges, valleys, and coastlines. With each effortless glide, the bird scans the earth below, every movement on the ground, every ripple on the water, seen with eyes sharper than any human's. The wedge-tailed eagle, Tasmania's apex raptor. This subspecies is the largest bird of prey in Australia, and in Tasmania, it grows even bigger than its mainland relatives. With a wingspan stretching over 9 feet, it is a giant of the sky. Its name comes from its long, wedge-shaped tail, broad at the base, narrowing to a sharp point, perfect for steering as it rides thermals high above the island. Here's a fun fact. The wedge-tailed eagle doesn't just hunt live prey like rabbits, wallabies, and young kangaroos. It also cleans the land by feeding on carrion. This dual role makes it both a hunter and a scavenger, vital to Tasmania's ecosystems. Farmers once saw them as threats, but today they are recognized as guardians of balance. Their nests are equally impressive. Built in tall trees or on cliff edges, some measure over 8 feet wide and are reused for decades, passed from one generation to the next. Each nest becomes a fortress, carrying the legacy of a family line that has ruled the skies for centuries. Culturally, the wedge-tailed eagle inspires awe and respect. For Aboriginal Tasmanians, it is a spiritual being, a messenger that bridges earth and sky. For modern Tasmanians, it is a symbol of wilderness untamed, power unchallenged. To To see one soaring overhead is to feel the island's wild spirit made flesh and feather. Now let me ask you, have you ever looked up and felt humbled, reminded that some rulers don't wear crowns? They spread their wings? That's the wedge-tailed eagle. So the next time you think of Tasmania, imagine this eagle soaring above the forests and coasts, majestic, commanding, and found nowhere else. The final note in a chorus of rare birds, the king of Tasmania's skies. From the fiery glow of the orange-bellied parrot, to the haunting cries of the yellow-tailed black cockatoo, to the quiet simplicity of the dusky robin, we've traveled across Tasmania's wild landscapes and met birds unlike any found elsewhere. 15 species, 15 stories, each one carrying a piece of this island's identity. Some amazed us with beauty, the delicate pink robin and the tiny little tern. Some surprised us with strangeness, the disguised Tawny Frogmouth and the booming musk duck. And some humbled us with sheer power, the white-bellied sea eagle, and finally the mighty wedge-tailed eagle, ruler of Tasmania's skies. Together they remind us that this island is more than just land and sea. It is a living sanctuary where rare voices still echo, and where every feather tells a story of survival and wonder. Now let me ask you, which of these Tasmanian birds will stay with you? Was it the tiny penguin marching from the surf, the parrot racing the wind, or the eagle soaring high above the mountains? Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, keep watching the skies, keep listening to the forests, and never forget the rarest treasures are often found in the most unexpected corners of the world.